The map at the top right hand corner shows us where the biomes of the world are. Now this particular map has 9, but the terms that we use in class, we use 8 of them. This one also has the high mountain ice, which is similar to the alpine tundra. But what a biome is, it's an ecosystem that has the same climatic conditions no matter where it is on Earth. So a tundra in light and this dark blue up here, no matter where it's found, whether it's in North America or whether it's in Asia, is going to have similar climatic conditions. So a lot of times these biomes are classified by their latitudes, because the latitude is going to affect the amount of sunlight. Now, how many biomes are there? It depends on the classification system that you're using. There's 6 major types. Freshwater and marine are our 2 types of aquatic biomes. Freshwater, of course, is fresh. Marine is our saltwater. And then we have deserts, forests, grasslands, and tundra. Tundra can almost fall into the desert category because it's basically a cold desert. It doesn't get very much rainfall. There's not a lot of vegetation. Now, I mentioned that latitude is one of the things that can determine the climatic conditions of a region. This has to do with the insolation, or the amount of sunlight. So the equator is going to be heated up more than the poles because the sunlight is more direct. That warm air and warm water from the equator travels towards the poles, and that colder, more dense air sinks and moves back towards the equator. And so it's this constant movement of heat and this continual struggle for temperature balance that causes us to have changing weather patterns. Now, because of the differences in air pressure and temperature, that's going to affect the conditions in our various biomes. So we have our highest concentration, or the most solar radiation at the equator. So we're going to have more evaporation. And so as it rises, it forms clouds, falls back to the earth. So around our equator in the tropics, that's where most of our rainforests are located, because we have enough rainfall to support the diversity of life, the many different types of vegetation and trees. You have to have large amounts of rainfall to be able to support a forest. You're going to have high productivity because of high insolation, or high amount of sunlight. Okay, so if we look at a map where all of these biomes, or where these rainforest biomes are located, we have the Amazon, the Congo in Africa, we have Southeast Asia. All of those are right around the equator in areas where we're going to have lots of sunlight, lots of evaporation, lots of rainfall. All right, once that warm air rises from the equator, as we move towards like the Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn, that air starts to sink again, which creates a subtropical high. So this descending air in this high pressure area, both north and south of the equator, that is where many of our world's deserts are, because remember, high pressure sinking air, you're not going to have the formation of clouds and precipitation. So once again, looking at the map, you can see here along the 30 degrees both north and south, the world's major deserts. So we've got the Mojave Desert in southwest United States, the Sahara, the Great Sandy, the Kalahari, the Patagonian, and other very smaller deserts spread out, but most of those are in that area of high pressure. Alright, here you can look and see where you've got rising air at the equator. You've got that sinking air that creates high pressure here for our deserts. And then once again here we've got rising air, low pressure. And so that's going to create rains once again, and we start seeing forests. You've got to have a lot of rainfall to support tree growth. So these are our coniferous forests that we see across the northern part of the United States, southern Alaska, southern Canada. If you look at this graph, it shows, compares rainfall and temperature. Those that have low rainfall, those are our deserts, which are the higher temperatures, and our tundras at the lower temperatures. All of our forests, notice, are up here with higher average rainfall per year. Now, they also tend to have warmer temperatures that makes them more productive. So these are our tropical rainforest, temperate rainforests, and then our temperate deciduous, which is our biome. And then the colder temperatures, we have the taiga, or those northern coniferous boreal forests. So it's the rainfall and the temperature that determines what type of biome is going to exist, what type of plants are going to grow there, and in turn, what types of animals can be supported by those primary producers. All right, this diagram has showed up on AP exams in the past. This is in the Miller textbook. But it does the same thing. It compares the amount of rainfall to temperature. This time I've got temperature over here, and I have the amount of rainfall. So in our tropical areas, we have rainforests, where we have our highest amount of rainfall. As it starts to dry, we get our tropical grasslands. Remember that grasslands tend to form a buffer between a desert and a forest. So then after our tropical grasslands, we have our tropical deserts. In our temperate climates, we have temperate forests. These are usually deciduous because in temperate climate, the higher latitudes, you're going to have colder winters, so they lose their trees to save energy. Then we have our temperate grasslands, which are our prairies, our steppes, our velds, our pampas, and our temperate deserts. And then once we get to the higher latitudes, we have our taiga. Those are those northern coniferous forests. And then Arctic, we have the tundra. Tundras tend to be drier. They're in high pressure areas just like the desert. So it's basically considered a cold desert. Remember that we do have seasonal changes because of the axis of the Earth. When we are tilted towards the sun, the northern hemisphere experiences summer, the southern hemisphere experiences winter. Those biomes that are close to the equator aren't going to have the 4 seasons that we're used to here. If they're around the equator, they might have a wet and dry season, but chances are they're going to have warm temperatures year-round. But the further you get from the equator, the more difference you're going to see in the seasons until you get to the poles, and you're going to have, once again, you might have a short summer of a few weeks when you have closer to 24 hours of daylight, but you're going to have a much longer winter.